right, welcome back to another episode of the Karter Cast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, as always, is Connor Sparrow. We are back. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA draft today. Show notice, just to let you know, we're going to do a post-draft show next week. Just break down everything, talk about guys we really like, different teams who did well in the draft with, of course, our main man, Adam Stanka. That'll be next week. That should come out either Wednesday or Thursday next week, but we're doing a little pre-draft show. We got to get our little takes in, Connor. We got to get our takes in before tomorrow's draft show. We're recording right now. It's 10:30 Eastern Time, Wednesday, June 21st, the day before the NBA draft. There's been smoke everywhere. Everywhere you look, it's smoke screen, smoke screen, smoke screen. You don't know what's real. You don't know what is. Right now, the only thing we do know is Victor Wembanyama is going to the Spurs. Everybody's saying the same thing. The draft starts at 2. The draft starts at 2. Mm-hmm. Who's at 2? Our beloved, sweet, sweet Charlotte Hornets are at 2. Woj comes out yesterday on SportsCenter and says, hey, the Hornets are eyeing, lasered in, focused in on Brandon Miller going to Charlotte. Let's just get this thing started. Let's talk about the Hornets real quick. Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson? I think we each need to get our opinion across right now.
Yeah, so my opinion's this, and it's been this ever since this draft process started, and the Hornets got the second pick and barely missed out on a franchise guy again. Who would have thought? I think Scoot Henderson's the move here for the Hornets. I really do, and Mitch Kupchak came out during his exit interview, whenever that was a little while ago, and came out and said the Hornets are in a better position now to draft based on need rather than best available player. I don't think I agree with that scenario. I think the Hornets are in a position right now where they need to take the best available player, and I think Scoot Henderson would be the number one pick in just about any other draft. It just so happens he's paired with Victor Wembanyama this year, and the Hornets got blessed with number 2. Yes, it's not 7'5" freak of nature, generational talent, but Scoot Henderson does have the talent to be number one pick in this league. I think you saw it during his G League season. He's playing against professionals. And I'm not saying Brandon Miller is going to be a bust. I really don't think so. I just really think Scoot Henderson's going to be that good. I've already got a little wager placed on him, plus 650 Rookie of the Year, Carter. I really do think Wembanyama may not hit that 65-game mark, but Scoot Henderson legitimately has a chance to be the best player this coming season out of this draft. Put up the most production this coming season.
I don't disagree with any of that. The one thing I will say is Mitch Kupchak yesterday in his press conference contradicted himself and then said, this roster isn't good enough. We aren't going to draft based on fit. We're going to draft best available. So, and then he also said Michael Jordan's going to make the final decision. They're open to trades. Who knows what's actually going on? Everybody's saying Brandon Miller at 2, and I'll talk about it from a fan's perspective at first. I'm not upset because I'm not going to sit here and say I know who's going to be better. That's the whole thing about the NBA draft is we never know. We don't know. That's the most obvious thing, but I'm a Scoot guy. You watch the highlights. I've watched the full game stuff. I know people have shooting concerns. I think the shot's going to come. I think it's only going to get better. I think he's got a great handle. His wingspan's crazy at 6'9". I think he plays. And the other thing is that's really interesting is when a lot of these guys play for the G League Ignite or one of these like random things, it's hard for them to care as much as, let's say, a guy at Alabama where you're playing for the NCAA tournament. You have a lot of fans behind you. Let's be honest, not a lot of fans are watching G League Ignite games. It's NBA media members and it's people locally that are going to your G League games, like at the Greensboro Swarm or whatever. But he still gave a crap every single game. That's really important to me.
I agree with that. And a lot of people are saying, Scoot's undersized. He can't play the 2 guard. He can't play with another point guard. He's 6'2", 195, sure, but he's built. His body, by the looks of it, is NBA ready. Like, he's been in the rigors of playing against other professional basketball players. Just so happens the Hornets have a 6'7" point guard in LaMelo Ball, who I think would pair pretty well with him. Now, I don't know, LaMelo is not the best defender, and I'm not saying he can lock down any other team's 2 guard, but he has the size for it. And I don't think Brandon Miller would be an awful pick, but I just really think if you're the Hornets, I think you're going to look back and regret not taking Scoot because I really do think he's going to produce in his first year. I really do, Carter.
I do too, and I'm going to ride with you. I also love Scoot Henderson, Rookie of the Year, plus 600. I think that's a great play. I think because, one, Victor Wembanyama, it's the same thing every year. I'm not going to sit here and say Wembanyama's going to be a bust. Not going to do the whole hot take thing. None of that bull crap. But a bigger guy, what happens to big guys, 7+ feet guys, they get hurt all the time. Chet Holmgren did not play a single game this past season. Victor Wembanyama, same thing could happen. Also, It doesn't seem like the Spurs are going to build a good enough roster around him. So when does the motivation die necessarily for him going throughout the season? When they are 15-30 going into All-Star weekend, does he, take time off, rest his body? Let's not put a lot of miles on him yet. Let's really prepare for the 2024 free agency class and then bring in some guys for him. I see that as a more likely scenario because it doesn't seem like they're going in for these guys like an Austin Reeves or whatever. I mean, these free agents aren't great this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the thing about Wembanyama is his frame. You hear everybody talk about it, how thin he is and all of this, which is true. I think the Spurs are going to take a cautious approach with him. I think they're an organization that has shown in the past that they're not afraid to load manage some guys, whether or not they're trying to tank, whatever it may be. With a guy like Victor Wembanyama, who is clearly a generational talent, there's some risks that come with his body type. So I could easily see them sitting him on some back-to-backs, or if he does tweak an ankle, maybe holding him out an extra 2 weeks than they would a normal player in this league, So I think that easily gets him below the 65-game requirement for the Rookie of the Year award. I still think he'll have a sensational rookie year, and he'll have some moments where it's like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be the next great player in the NBA. But bookmark this, Karter. I think Scoot Henderson's going to have one of those years where it's 16.5 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and he's going to win Rookie of the Year, and he's going to play 75 games.
I don't doubt that at all. It's going back to last year. It's very similar. What did we say last year? Chet Holmgren was the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. And then he got hurt very quickly after, so kind of different there. But everyone's saying Chet Holmgren. Who's the most pro-ready guy right now? I guess you could say Wembanyama, but the injury concerns are worthy enough to place a 6-1 odds bet. So I would take that. I would take that any day of the week. I'd almost sprinkle a little on Brandon Miller at 16-1 too. I don't think that's terrible, depending on where he goes. If he goes to Charlotte, he's going to get a lot of opportunities playing the 3, or maybe even the 4 with his size, playing alongside Miles Bridges and P.J. Washington. That's going to get interesting there, too. Chet Holmgren's also on the board for Rookie of the Year this year. I don't think that's a terrible one. But going back to the Brandon Miller versus Scoot debate, I'm not going to say I know, but I just like Scoot. I'm a Scoot guy, but and the other thing is, since we're Hornets fans, once it's announced to say Hornets have selected Brandon Miller from Alabama, we're going to be the biggest Brandon Miller stans in the world.
We will be. We'll have to be.
We'll talk ourselves into it. Come training camp in the NBA, come September, we're going to be sitting there being like, this Brandon Miller guy, like, he might be better than Paul George.
Yeah, we're going to be – you mean his GOAT? You mean his his GOAT that he talked about? Did you also see that interview? I can't remember if I sent it to you or not, where he got interviewed and he was talking about how Michael Jordan was in there talking trash to him while he was working out and all this. And Brandon Miller was like, yeah, I witnessed MJ airball a free throw, probably just because he's old and all that. And he's like, it's just like some other regular guy just watching me work out. No, I don't know if that's some kind of like tank job. He don't want to go to Charlotte, or if like
it's one or the other.
Michael Jordan's probably salivating like, oh my gosh, this is perfect.
Yeah, it's either one or the other, because it's either him and Michael Jordan have a tight relationship where he's screwing with him, or he's like, yeah, I really, 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 really don't want to go to Charlotte.
Yep, I agree. What do you think about all the rumors that are like, if Portland does take Scoot Henderson number 3, apparently Damian Lillard's going to get traded. Apparently today, Woj said
anywhere.
Apparently today, Woj said that the Trailblazers have really kind of roped off talks about Damian Lillard going elsewhere, and he wants to stay in Portland. Does that mean they know something we don't? Maybe they know Charlotte's taking Scoot at number 2. I feel like not, but I'm hopeful.
Even if let's say they draft Brandon Miller, either one, I still think Portland's kind of a fun team. Everyone's kind of poo-pooing Portland because they're not going for championship aspirations, or they're not bottoming out.
Yeah.
But I also don't think they're necessarily in no man's land. And they got to trade Simons this year. Simons has got to go, I think. And if you bring in a big, they're kind of a fun team. Like, I would rather bring in these guys. It goes back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is when you like this process 76ers, you create this losing habit. And that's why I wanted Chris Paul to come to Charlotte. You create this losing habit when you bottom out like that, and a lot of these guys never can recover from that losing habit. Very few guys do. Like Devin Booker did, but guess who came in? Chris Paul.
Right.
Like, you need those other guys, and having Dame Lillard there with guys like Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, they trade Simon to get a big in or some other depth in there. that's a fun team. Yes, they're not going to win a championship, but I think that creates better players for the future than it does bottoming out. Like a great example is look at the Utah Jazz throughout the years. The Utah Jazz are never, ever, ever at the top 3 of the NBA draft. They continuously, yes, they're not always great, but they're typically in playoff contention, and their rookies they draft, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, these guys, they're in a winning culture. They're not used to losing, and that just snowballs year after year.
I agree with that. However, with Portland, I don't see them winning a lot of games, Karter. I think the league's extremely talented. Yes, they may be a fun team.
You don't think they could be a 10 seed?
I think 11? They could fight for the 10 seed, but man, is that what Damian Lillard wants to do? Damian Lillard's in his, mid-30s, though? This goes back to the whole thing.
That is what he wants to do.
It might be, but I still think eventually he gets moved, whether it be during the season or maybe next offseason. I don't think he's going to finish his career in Portland, dude. There's no way.
I don't know. Portland's so weird with that, though, because I'm actually surprised. We haven't talked since, really, since the Bradley Beal stuff happened. But
right.
Like, it's very similar to the Bradley Beal thing, but I just don't know. It's an interesting battle with Damian Lillard. Does he tweets out, "You running from the grind, you guys running from the grind, blah, blah, blah." But does he really want that kind of pressure? Because he's never had that pressure before.
I think he wants that pressure more than Bradley Beal does. I think I'd
put Damian
Lillard. I think so. I think I'm putting him a peg above. At least Damian Lillard's proven to make the playoffs and win some rounds and make conference finals one time. What's Bradley Beal done?
But I don't necessarily think it's that. I think Damian Lillard is just a better player than Bradley Beal. Doesn't mean that I think they're going to end up having almost the same career. But if Damian Lillard doesn't have that Game 7 game-winning shot, they have very similar careers. Unless, let's say the Suns somehow miraculously win an NBA title next year, Bradley Beal might be remembered better than Damian Lillard.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that take.
Let's say Beal is a major part of the Suns title team next year. I would say Bradley Beal might be remembered more than Lillard.
Lillard's already made the NBA 75 team. He's got a lot of career accomplishments. I'm not going that far. He's putting up consistent numbers every year. He's had memorable moments. Bradley Beal doesn't really have a signature moment. Yes, I know you're saying if he's a crucial part of this title team that might happen. I still put Lillard above him as more memorable.
I think that recency bias is going to leave a bad taste in your mouth next year if the Suns do win, and then Bradley Beal's lifting the NBA title, Damian Lillard's sitting at home as the 12th seed in the West.
I don't think we're going to have that argument, though, because the Suns' bench is going to be Tyler Zeller and Quinn Cook and Jill Okafor.
The 2015 All-ACC team.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we can put John Henson on there. Screw it. We'll do it back to 2012.
C.J. Leslie's going to make an appearance.
C.J. Harris?
C.J. Harris from Wake. Ish Smith. Ish Smith is going to be on that roster, isn't he?
Oh, he'll be there for the minimum.
NBA title winner, Ish Smith.
Exactly.
But back to the Lillard stuff is, I just don't know if he is going to leave, though, because it may just be he just really likes Portland, and Portland's like, you know what, we've had this legend here, let's just let him have it, and then we'll go. But business-wise, it's a stupid approach.
That's the thing that I want to touch on is what Lillard wants. Sure, fine. They're going to listen to him. He's a star. He's the face of the franchise. Let's say trade deadline comes around and there's a team like Miami, like Philadelphia, that wants to swing for the fences and change it up or go for it mid-year because they think they have a shot to win it. And they offer Portland this insane deal of future firsts and talent that they can use now. Are they going to say no? I don't think so. I think if Portland's 20 games below 500 at the trade deadline and somebody offers them a sweet deal for Damian Lillard, I'm sorry if he wants to stay for the grind, but they're going to have to take it. No team would be that stupid.
What was the trade stuff you want to talk about?
Speaking of trades, earlier today, we got a tweet from Woj. Well, Shams beat him to it, but Woj saying the Celtics are working on a trade to acquire the Wizards' Kristaps Porzingis, 3-team deal, Malcolm Brogdon to the Clippers, and then Marcus Morris, Amir Coffey in the 30th pick, and some more draft capital to the Wizards. Well, turns out just about 15 minutes ago, Woj tweets the 3-team talks on a Porzingis-Brogdon deal between the Celtics, Wizards, and Clippers have fallen apart. All sides are moving on. So that trade's dead in the water now. So all those Celtics fans who were like, man, Porzingis is going to be a great fit, and we were roasting the Clippers for adding another injury-prone player and Washington just bottoming out, it's all over now. So those trades have fallen through in a matter of less than 12 hours.
I'm just looking at it now. I'm looking at Twitter. So the trade is off.
Yeah, all sides have moved on. They're not even going to work through the details, apparently.
Wow.
I wonder what happened. I wonder if Porzingis maybe didn't want to opt into his deal. I wonder if he wants to opt out for a longer-term deal, and Boston wasn't willing to give it to him. They just more so wanted that 1 year. I don't know.
So now then he just tweeted out, the Wizards are still working on ways to get Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics in an opt-in sign-and-trade scenario, but it won't be a 3-team way with the Clippers. Sources say Porzingis still has the ability to decline, whatever, blah, 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 and become a free agent. Sides are working under a midnight Eastern deadline on Porzingis. So if it happens, it happens in the next hour 20.
If you're the Celtics, I think
it looks like it's not going to be a 3-team trade.
If you're the Celtics, I think it's the right move. I really do. Brogdon's a great player, but he's injury prone. You got Derek White, you got Marcus Smart. Clearly, they're ready to roll forward with that Derek White Marcus Smart combo. You got Peyton Pritchard, who I really do think Peyton Pritchard's a capable backup point guard in this league, maybe a 10 to 15 minute game per game guy. I think Porzingis is what they need. Rob Williams is always injured. Al Horford's only getting older. He broke down the playoffs from playing too many minutes. If Porzingis can stay healthy and stretch the floor for them, I think it's a great fit. He's 7'3", rim protection got a little bit better this year with Washington. He's a borderline all-star. It's one of his best years.
I agree with that, too. The one thing about the Celtics is, let me ask you this. When anybody on the Celtics shoots the ball, how confident are you that it's going in? From 3.
Not too confident. Maybe the most confident with Derek White lately, to be completely honest.
Yeah, that's how bad it is. That's why Porzingis makes total sense.
Yeah, after that playoff run, there were so many games Tatum disappeared in the first half or anything. They just couldn't find the offense. Marcus Smart was the one taking big shots for them a lot of the time. I think Porzingis is a good fit for them.
I think it is too. It sounds bad, but I don't know if there's too much to really add to it there because I just think it's a good fit. I don't really know how the salaries work out with the cap stuff. It seems like somehow they're able to get these guys. Brogdon's gone. It looks like they're going to have to dump Gallinari too, maybe someone else as well. So that's where it gets tricky. But
Grant Williams is probably gone. He was making a little money.
Yeah, it's going to end up being Grant Williams and Brogdon for Porzingis when it's kind of the net balance of it all, which, you take that trade 10 times out of 10 if you're a Celtics fan.
I think so, too. Especially Brogdon's a great player, and he was great for them in the regular season, 6th man of the year, but it's not really what they need. They have guards.
Yeah, and it's interesting they chose Smart over Brogdon, but at the same time it isn't with Brogdon's injury history and everything too.
Well, it might have been the Clippers. Well, the talks fell through now, but it might have been the Clippers saying we want Brogdon, not Marcus Smart. Because if I'm an opposing GM, I'm probably taking Brogdon over Marcus Smart. It'd be close.
Even with the injuries.
It would be close, but the Marcus Smart was just too inconsistent this year. 2 years ago, I'd taken that Marcus Smart every day of the week. But this year, what's to say he just doesn't decline another year?
But if you're the Clippers, you want someone who's healthy, right?
You do. That's fair.
That's my thing. It's just we were texting earlier. It's the most injury-prone roster of all time.
It is. They were finally about to get rid of Marcus Morris, who just seems like he plays half the season and then disappears and then shows up and takes 15 shots in a playoff game. But, alas, back to square one.
Speaking of trades, it's been the number one trade talk all the last week or so. Zion Williamson. We've been seeing he's been getting tweeted at by porn stars constantly.
He's been in the news cycle lately. We'll say that.
Thank goodness she got suspended from Twitter. Thank goodness.
I thought it was funny at first. I was like, wow. And then about 250 to 300 tweets later, I was like, oh my God, get off my timeline. It was ridiculous. It was just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, you feel bad for Zion. But anyhow, everyone's talked about that. Blah, 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 blah. Zion's on the trade block. Whether he gets traded or not, he is on the trade block. And that raises the question, where should he go? Where should Zion Williamson go?
I don't know if I've ever seen a team be willing to trade a star this good that's still this young, this early in their career. And I know the off-the-court stuff, and I know he's been hurt for a majority of the time he's been in New Orleans. But when he's been on the court, Karter, he's flashed potential of being a top 5 guy in the league. Nearly unstoppable in offense. It's actually unbelievable. And I know the injury history is a big deal, and staying on the court, staying in shape is a big deal. Maybe all he needs is a change of scenery. And I'm telling you right now, if they offered him for the number 2 pick, I'm taking that, especially if they have their sights set on Brandon Millworth number 2. Give me Zion every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yes. And where should he go? The answer is Charlotte. Charlotte's the best fit for Zion. I know we're saying that because we're Hornets fans, but I'm wearing a Duke hat right now. No. I'm talking about Zion the player. I'm not talking about my Hornets fandom. Let's break it down real quick. Let's talk about the 3 teams that have really been involved for Zion have been Houston, have been Portland, and have been Charlotte. Houston makes 0 sense. Why on earth would you go to Houston? I mean, what are you going to do in Houston?
He's in a better situation in New Orleans right now than he would be in Houston. I mean, that franchise, I know Charlotte lost a lot this year, but they've been consistently losing a lot. Seems like there's no real culture there. Guys are just chucking up shots, AAU ball, Jalen Green, Kevin Porter taking turns. Jabari Smith is there. I mean, if you're Zion, what are you going there for? You know? I mean, why would you want to go there?
And then the Portland Trail Blazers, you have Damian Lillard. You're kind of competing for a 10-9 seed. You're in the exact same position. Like, Houston's a worse position. Portland, you're what? Maybe in the same position, if not maybe a little bit better?
I think I like his pairing with Dame more than I like his pairing with Brandon Ingram / CJ McCollum. Fair. So I think it'd be like a better
freaking Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah, I think it'd be better fit wise. I think Portland could dump Nurkic somehow, maybe get another big in there that fits better with Zion. But as far as Damian Lillard himself goes and Simons spacing the floor like that, I just always thought this about New Orleans. They have a lot of talent, but Brandon Ingram's a ball stopper. CJ McCollum isn't a true point guard. Herb Jones is really a 3 or a 4, and he's playing the 2 guard for them. Valanciunas can't. I mean, he shoots 3 sometimes, but doesn't really space the floor for Zion. It's just not a good basketball fit for him. And I would have loved to see him come back in the playoffs that year. They almost made that run. And I would have loved to see him stay healthy this year just to see what that team looks like. But I kind of know the answer. Karter. It just doesn't seem like a good fit for him there.
It's not a good fit. It's all ball stopping, like you mentioned, and everyone tweeting out like, I know all the Hornets Reddit and Twitter threads or whatever, they're saying, "Oh, we would rather have Brandon Ingram than Zion Williamson."
Stop that.
Clearly, you did not watch Zion Williamson. Brandon Ingram only gets you so high. He's end of the bench all-star he's going to be like a 3-time all-star end of the bench, averaging 23 a game, maybe getting you an 8 seed in the playoffs. We know Brandon Ingram's ceiling now.
Right. Exactly.
You take the risk on Zion is the thing.
That's what I was going to
say. You're a small market franchise. You have horrible history. You're one of the look at their history. 3 playoff appearances in 20+ years. That's terrible. You need to take swing for the fences. Go for the home run. Just let it rip. You have to go for it, and that's why I think. And that's not just the reason why I think Zion would be great in Charlotte. The reason Zion's going to be great in Charlotte is LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is probably one of the best passing point guards in the NBA. Run and gun, alley-oops, dunks, layups, fast breaks. Zion is so great in transition. Miles Bridges so great in transition. And that's the other thing, too, is let's say Zion's hurt. He has guys that can fill his role.
Right.
Miles Bridges can fill that role. And he also has a rim protector, Mark Williams, who's not going to dominate the ball or take up space in the post, really. He can stretch out if he really has to, where Valanciunas felt like you had to dump him the ball sometimes in the post. Mark Williams is never going to demand the ball on offense.
Yeah, Mark Williams is not going to be a guy that has to get 10 post touches a game. As far as stretching the floor goes, you're not going to see him on the three-point line, but you'll see him in that short corner lob spot like you saw him this year.
Yeah.
And with guys that can pass as well as LaMelo can, he'll find them. He'll find the space on cutters. And that's the thing that New Orleans doesn't have right now is a guy to hit Zion in places where he doesn't have to think about it and can just score. Zion was so great when he's been healthy for them, but he's had to bully his way into paint. He's had to take guys off the dribble from the three-point line. It's never really been too many easy buckets. He's had to work for a lot of them, and he might make them seem easy. But with a guy like LaMelo on your team, you saw it with Miles Bridges 2 years ago. Leading the fast break, so many easy buckets come from a guy like that running your fast break and running your offense. I think it'd be a great fit. I really do. And I hope it happens. I'd be happy with Scoot at number 2. I'd be happy with Zion. And the last thing I'll say, you know Brandon Ingram's ceiling. Like you said, you know what Brandon Ingram can get you. You don't really know what Zion can get you. He could be a top 5 player in the league. He could also bottom out and his career could be over in 3 years. Like you said, it's a risk you got to take because we've seen what he could be. And I've never seen a team make a guy this good, this young, available like this.
Now, let me ask you this. What's the max you'd be willing to give up for Zion?
The max I'd be willing to give up, honestly, I'm willing to give up the number 2 pick. And, oh, man, Karter. I mean, I'd give up Gordon, dump his salary. I'd give up Terry Rozier, dump his salary. I might even be talked into giving up the number 2 pick plus P.J. Washington. Maybe the number 2 pick in PJ for like a Zion and Herb Jones is probably too much, but like Zion and another piece. I don't know. You could talk me into number 2 and another player.
I think you could let me, if you said for Zion, realistically, the number 2 pick, dump either Hayward or Rozier, and if we had to throw in, one of our 45 second rounders, I think
that's fine. Too. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's fair.
Let's dump in 7 second rounders.
That's perfectly fine with me. I mean, we gave up Jalen Duren for nothing, so.
Yeah, exactly. So Zion to Charlotte makes so much sense. The other thing I thought about, Zion and LaMelo in Charlotte would be kind of hilarious. I came up with this concept that there should be, like on the baseline seats, how they have like, celebrity row or something courtside. They should just put a couch on the court.
What, for all LaMelo and Zion's women to sit there?
Yes, they should put the Charlotte Hornets, if they get Zion and LaMelo, they should have a couch on courtside for special people.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
VIP. Well, you should have the people sitting on the couch be VIP people.
Well, I don't know if whatever her name is from Twitter, I don't know if she would be inclined to come, but maybe she would be. Maybe she'd get the invite.
Holy restraining order.
I don't know, Karter. No. I don't know. I think that's must-see League Pass, though. I will tell you that.
Premium subscription League Pass.
For the only court product. Thank you very much.
Yeah, only court.
Well, Zion's hometown team. Zion's closest team to where he's from. Makes too much sense.
But the Zion part is, you go back home. You're in a better situation. You're near family.
You got better circle around you.
Better support system. And we talked about Zion. Like, remember in the 2019 draft, this kind of goes back to my point earlier where I said we don't ever know in the NBA draft. I know that's simple. I know that's stupid. But we never actually know in the NBA draft. Because think about Zion at Duke. What's the number one thing you said about him every single game? Every time he laced him up, he went 150% on the court. It was nonstop, all out. But you haven't seen that in New Orleans. He doesn't give a crap at New Orleans. He did give a crap at Duke. He cared. Now, was that to get the first pick in the NBA draft? I honestly don't think so. It just looked like he was enjoying playing basketball at Duke, and I think he finds that in Charlotte with LaMelo Ball, being home, playing with a guy that can pass in the ball as well as LaMelo Ball does, being the guy in your hometown. I think it's a great fit. Will it happen? Probably not, but he's also a Jordan athlete, so you never know.
That would be awesome. I know we're Hornets fans, but just as a fan of basketball, if you're looking at this, what a fun team that would be to watch. I don't know if they'd be any good. I mean, they'd probably still find a way to be 500. But to have LaMelo throwing lobs to Miles Bridges and Zion and Mark Williams, that's just a fun team.
Let me paint you another Zion destination. I don't know how it'd work out, but bear with me here. Golden State.
I mean, it would be awesome. I don't think he fits what they do there, though.
I think he kind of does, though.
Expand.
I think he gives it because he could name one guy on their team that you can really say, hey, here's the ball, drive to the hole and score. Besides Andrew Wiggins, maybe, but are you that confident in Andrew Wiggins?
Yeah, but what is gold? I know you said doing how to be done.
And also the sneaky part about Zion's game, he's an excellent passer.
He is. He's made some good decisions in his time playing when healthy.
And that opens the game up so much more for guys like Curry and Clay. And then because you can't help off those two guys that go into Zion. You can't really help off Andrew Wiggins. So Zion could just go in and dominate. Zion playing the 5 in Golden State, all you have to do is give up like 5 first-round picks. It's worth it.
It might be worth it for them to extend their championship window a little bit, but if you're Golden State, no way. I don't know. I mean, I can see the fit. But then again, I can see the fit for just about anybody there. So
exactly, and any player that goes to Golden State, you're like, yeah, they could probably work.
I mean, you saw Andrew Wiggins reinvent his career there. So
D'Angelo Russell, I guess, is the one outlier.
Yeah.
Going back to the NBA draft. NBA draft is tomorrow night. As an overall thing with this NBA draft, it's kind of a gross draft. Everyone's saying it's kind of beating a dead horse that after 3, the draft is kind of, up for grabs, unknown. every year we feel like you have those guys like the Donovan Mitchells or Devin Booker, these late
Right.
lottery guys, either like 7 to 14, where you're like, okay, like this guy could take that next jump and really be the guy, really be this awesome multi-year all-star kind of level player. I really don't see that in these guys. Am I crazy?
No, you're not. And that's the point I wanted to bring up is after 3, it does kind of fall off a cliff with guys that you really get excited about. Like, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of guys from this draft that are consistent contributors to an NBA team, and they're really good on the winning team, and that's fair. But if you don't have the number 3, number 2, number 1 pick in this draft, are you really that excited? I mean, Amin and Asar Thompson, they're going to be good players maybe. One of them maybe will be a good player. Who knows? But do you really think they're going to take you to that next level? Do you really think a guy like Cam Whitmore or a guy like Grady Dick or somebody that like is going to go in the top 10, top 15 picks, do you really have that much confidence that they could be a multi-time All-Star? Like, I don't really think I see it with any of these guys. And I haven't paid the most attention to college basketball this year like I have in years past. But you're right. It does feel like in years past there's been a couple guys to fall late lottery that are like, oh, this is a big risk, but if they figure it out, they really have the potential to get there. It doesn't feel like that this year.
No, it doesn't feel like that. Like, you look at the Thompson twins, I know everyone's going to say, these kids, their potential is outrageous, blah, blah, blah. If you watch the Overtime Elite stuff, like, one, they're playing against high school kids and they're 20 years old. I know that's going to be the consistent knock on them, but it's a realistic knock.
Yeah, there's a big difference between 16-year-olds and 18, 19-year-olds you're playing against in college, or the G League in Scoot Henderson's case.
And the other thing is why college basketball matters so much, and the G League is legit because you're playing against grown men, and those are professional basketball players. But, like, Overtime Elite, the big knock about the G League is not a lot of eyes are on it, so there's less pressure. Overtime Elite, there's 0 eyes on it, and you're supposed to be the best of the best. So therefore, there's absolutely 0 pressure to do well, and they didn't jump off the screen in the Overtime Elite either. That's why I'm not sold on either of those guys. Am I saying they're going to be bad? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying I'm not super impressed with them.
Right, and tell me this, Karter. How many sets do you think they ran in those Overtime Elite games? Because it looked like glorified pickup to me. How much offense did they run? How many defensive schemes did they run? That's what you get in college basketball. It's so much more X's and O's, and you learn on offense, and you learn to play for a coach. Overtime Elite literally looks like just AAU pickup ball, and they could still turn out to be great players, but I just don't know if that's a great indicator for it. I don't know if that's a great place to judge.
And that's the other thing is, like, guys like Brandon Miller, you have millions of people around the world watching you on the biggest stage during March Madness. There's no bigger place than that when the pressure's at its highest. And yes, Brandon Miller crumbled, but at least we got to see him on that stage. These guys, they haven't played nationally televised games yet. It's Overtime Elite. It's literally, like you said, glorified AAU pickup. It's like the 7th game of an AAU tournament the same day.
Right, and I will say one positive about Brandon Miller is whenever all the news broke about the legal situation, his very next game was his best game of the year. So, like, that was in the face of adversity. That was in front of millions of people. Everybody was watching that game because nobody thought he should have been playing, and that's when he had his best game. So take the legal situation for what it is, but him playing under that pressure, we've seen it happen. There's no situations like that in Overtime Elite, and I don't know, Karter. I think they could be great players. I think they have the skill set for it from what I've seen. I think they could mold into great players. But it would be really hard for me as a GM to take them at 4, 5, or 6 just based off of that film.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm looking over here, too. The other thing that's pissing me off about the NBA draft is, like, everyone's using the Hornets as, like,
oh
the
my
dumpster
God.
team there. It's just, hey, the Hornets, they'll take Trey Murphy for the number 2 pick.
Why wouldn't the Hornets want to take Zach LaVine and give up number 2 and Terry Rozier? Zach LaVine would be a great fit next to LaMelo. No, you're trying to convince yourself that they would be a good third team to put in this trade so that your hypothetical trade will work out or your favorite team gets what you want. Forget that. The number 2 pick is pretty damn valuable this year. In a draft that falls off after number 3, I think it even has that much more value. So, it's just ridiculous to see the Hornets in these mock trades just literally getting like ran through.
Going through here also, like you just look at these guys. Like, I understand like Grady Dick's a solid player. He can have a solid career in the pros. I'm not saying that, but like if you're a team drafting Grady Dick top 10. Are you excited? Are you happy?
I don't think so. I mean, we can go over sleepers in a little bit, but I'm more happy drafting a couple guys later in the draft that could give me some more value. I don't know. If I'm picking late lottery, it's going to be tough for me to find somebody I'm super excited about this year.
Let's talk about sleepers then, and then
Let's
we
do
can
it.
close shop here. Give me your first sleeper this draft.
My first one, no bad blood here. This guy was committed to Carolina, reclassed, went to South Carolina. That's G.G. Jackson, 6'9" forward, 18 years old, one of the youngest guys in the draft. I think he's one of the most boom or bust players in this draft, Carter. He's so young. He's shown flashes of talent. He reclassed. He should have been in high school this year. He didn't have a great year at South Carolina. He's not going to go super high in the draft. He's not going to go in the lottery. I'm telling you, the flashes are there. If they can develop him, he could be really good in this league. He can also be complete bust and we'll never hear from him again. But that's why he's a sleeper. I think he's one of the most high-ceiling, low-floor guys in the entire draft.
He feels a little Patrick Baldwin-y to me.
You think so? I think Patrick Baldwin, but at least G.G. Jackson went to South Carolina, a decently known school. Patrick Baldwin went to Milwaukee.
Fair.
But yeah, no, I see the
Jackson
comparison.
Was terrible at South Carolina.
But he wasn't terrible. But Patrick Baldwin also, I mean, okay, he was a sleeper also. That's why he's a sleeper. He's G.G. Jackson, he's going to go in the 20s. I'm just saying I could see a pathway where he is a pretty good player in 3 years.
Which I don't disagree with at all because, these high recruits, you just never know. There's a reason they were high recruits.
Right, exactly.
And if they get, if he falls into the right system, the right team, get the right opportunities, gain confidence, you never know with these guys.
Right.
One deep sleeper I like. He's not like gonna all-stars. He's not gonna have. He'll probably never make an all-star game. He's never gonna be the max guy kind of deal. But someone who I think is just going to have a long career in the league and you're happy he's on your team is Jordan Miller from Miami.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
He's going to be a late second rounder probably.
That's
might not even get drafted. But he's just going to be a guy you're just thrilled he's on your team. He's always making the right plays, making the right reads, making the right cuts, getting every freaking board. He plays super hard defense. He's going to go to a contender and just be an awesome guy, kind of like a Bruce Brown type.
I like that.
Obviously, he's bigger, but like that kind of role.
I like that. I could see him being one of those guys that contributes to winning a lot for a long time and somehow has found his way in the league for 10 years. I like that. I had one more. This isn't as deep of a sleeper, but I think this guy could be. It's pretty raw for me from what I've seen. That's Bayo Coulibaly, Victor Wembanyama's teammate from Metropolitans '92. He's 6'8" from France. He's only 18, and I've watched a little bit of film on him, not much. He's very raw offensively, but his wingspan is what, I'm reading right here, 7'2" wingspan. I think if he develops a shot, he shot 45% this year in his team's season. It only took a little over one a game. Shots there though, 3-and-D guy. I'm not saying he's going to be Giannis, but that long wingspan, that athleticism. I mean, teams are going to like that. I think he has a chance to be a pretty big contributor.
I need to find out if we can place this bet or not, but Coulibaly going to the Oklahoma City Thunder is the most obvious pick in the history of the NBA draft.
They love that. You saw with Ousmane Dieng last year. They love that. They want to put 5 guys out there who is 6'8" with a 7'5" wingspan around Shea.
Yes, I'm going to look it up right after we're done here. I'm going to try and see where Coulibaly's draft position is. I guarantee you it's 11.5, just right where the Thunder pick at 12.
I got the Ringer mock draft pulled up right here. Let me just see where he is on here. Oh, funny enough, Carter, on the Ringer's 2023 mock draft, number 12 to OKC, Bayo Coulibaly.
I just while I was talking, I pulled up OKC, or I pulled up Givenese on ESPN Plus. Yeah, it's 12 to the Thunder.
What a call by you! I mean, that's perfect. And the thing is, somebody's going to work out from that. It's either going to be Dieng or Coulibaly. One of them is going to be an all-star. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it's like the argument. You bring in 15 quarterbacks, one of them are going to work out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the
survival of the fittest.
The Thunder have just as many picks to do whatever the hell they want to. They don't have to get a guy who is NBA ready with every single pick. They have the picks to develop.
One player I think people, let's keep doing the sleeper thing, and then I'll go into people I think people are being a little high on. And we'll go to the sleeper thing. And I think this guy has legit potential. It's the most obvious player comp I think I've ever seen since, talking about the draft. And it's Dariq Whitehead. Dariq Whitehead has so much Michael Porter Jr. in his game. It's kind of scary because And their careers are eerily similar. Both players walk into their freshman season hurt. Michael Porter Jr.'s injury, obviously worse. He had to sit out all year with that back injury. There's a lot of injury concerns coming in. They were both very high recruits, top recruits coming in, and they have injury-prone freshman seasons, but they have elite jump shots. Their jump shots, the shot-making ability by them is ridiculous. Their handles are very questionable. I mean, Dariq Whitehead's handle at Duke this year was terrible. Nothing short of terrible, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They both had very questionable handling. Their jump shots, they also have similar, not super similar form, but if you watch them, it's almost like they float on their jump shots. It's kind of weird. They have very high arc on their jumpers. They shoot very high whenever they shoot too. And Dariq Whitehead can make the impossible three-point shot. Yet, do I think he's going to be all NBA, this, that, whatever? No, but late first round, absolutely. This guy is going to be in the league for 10 plus years, knocking down three-pointers. Because if you can do one thing in this league, that's knock down threes. You will have a career no matter what.
I think I agree with that. If you watched Duke this year, obviously you watched a lot. You could see the flashes there, and he could never really put it together this year, whether it be injuries, rotation guys. Just couldn't really find it and put it all together to showcase like how high of a recruit he really was. You saw the flashes, and I really think with a guy like this, there's a chance he could be good right away in the right situation. There really is. If he goes to the right team, he could be an instant contributor. You saw Christian Brown for Denver this year.
That's what I'm saying is late in the first round where you're going to a team maybe like a Golden State, maybe, even a Miami. A Miami might be like a great situation for him. Stretch the floor, knock down threes. I almost think it's a bigger benefit for him not being at the top of this board where, yes, he's a little injury-prone coming in, but I still think that talent is definitely there. He can also pass the ball sneakily well if you watch Duke games. And the other thing is if you're like questioning, Dariq Whitehead, he wasn't good, his stats stunk. Watch the ACC tournament Duke run and watch how important he was and how well he could play. That's when he's finally starting to gain some steam, get some momentum, and you could see the ball rolling for him and see his confidence come back. Those were huge games.
Kevin O'Connor at the Ringer has him 28th to the Utah Jazz. I don't hate that. That's a decent situation where he could get a lot of playing time right away. I know they're not the best in terms of like competing for a championship-wise, like that high level. It's not the worst situation. If he goes to Houston,
don't hate him 27 to Charlotte.
I wouldn't.
27 to Charlotte.
I don't think I'd hate that either. Right now they've got Chris Murray to Charlotte 27. Give me Whitehead over Chris Murray.
Yeah, given he has Leonard Miller, G League Ignite. Also, like if the Warriors somehow traded back or they just overdrafted for him at 19, that would be a phenomenal scenario. But like every player fits in at Golden State.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody that you think is just being you just don't understand why they're being drafted so high?
I don't want to sound like that guy that's just like choosing people to hate on. Is Grady Dick really going to...
Cam Whitmore?
Well, Cam Whitmore... Cam Whitmore was going to be one of them. At first, people had him like top 5. Like, he's going to go 5th or 6th. Now, a lot of guys, they said his workouts haven't been the best. Now he's out of the top 10. So I'm not going to really... Like, his draft stock is falling right now. I think that's probably where he belongs. I was going to say Grady Dick just because, like, I've seen him as high as 10, 9. Really? Like, I see him more as like a late teens kind of guy. What do you think?
I think you're right there, but also like I can see where he fits. Where
he can shoot the ball. He can shoot the ball,
and he can pass really well too.
Yeah,
he can handle the ball fairly well. I see it, but I also see your point.
Yeah.
I think in any other draft, he's not going lottery.
Well, that's the thing is I can choose any one of these guys after the 3rd pick and be like, they're probably a little too high. But for this year's draft in the talent pool, it's probably about where they should be.
Alrighty, let me see here. What in the world? What about Amani Bates at plus 5,000 to be taken in the first round?
If you're going to give me those odds maybe 2 years ago, that's somebody who clearly had immense talent but just couldn't figure it out. And you'll see a lot of that, guys falling off.
He'll be a fun summer league guy. You'll be sitting there watching summer league. We're in the dog days of summer. You'll turn on NBA TV, and all of a sudden you're like, he's cool.
Or he'll be in the G League in 2 years, and they'll be like, give Amani Bates his flowers. He deserves a shot on the NBA roster. He just put up 15 and 7 in a G League game. So,
the last player I have, I like his game a lot. I think he's going to do very well in the NBA, but Does Jordan Hawkins feel very Jarrett Culver-y?
Yeah, he does. And Jarrett Culver obviously went a lot higher than Jordan Hawkins is going to go. I think Jordan Hawkins, no, not completely, but being on that UConn team with a lot of other great players really made him look a lot better, I think, than he'll actually be. But I don't know. He can shoot the ball. He's a good offensive player. I don't know.
I wouldn't be. That's the other thing with Jordan Hawkins. You could tell me anything that happens in his career. He's the one guy where I think his floor is like. I mean, if you told me he was out of the league in 2 years playing in Europe, I wouldn't say no.
Right.
But then if you told me you were like, yeah, man, like he's averaging 20 a game on the Rockets, you're like, oh, all right,
wow.
Well, there it is.
Yeah. Riddle me this. I have one more deep sleeper. Tell me Leaky Black won't get a two-way contract somewhere, Karter. Tell me Leaky Black won't get a two-way contract somewhere.
Yeah, in Greensboro.
He'll be the 17th guy on a team this year. Watch.
17? No. He'll be G League, but I don't think he gets a two-way.
Give me a two-way deal for Leaky Black. Come on.
No, he's not getting a two-way.
Karter, a guy that can defend all 5 positions like that, and his shot's gotten better.
Javin DeLaurier, is that you speaking?
Emil Jefferson? I'm sorry, what was that?
Emil Jefferson's goated, dude.
Lance Thomas?
He's the Celtics.
Good for
Lance
him.
Thomas, he had a long career in the NBA.
Somehow.
The last thing I'll say about this draft is I just see so many role players.
I do too. I see guys that could be contributors, but there's not a lot of people that jump off the page and I'm thinking, oh, they could average 25 in 3 years and be one of the best young guys in the league. I don't see a lot of that. And we could be dead wrong.
Yeah, well,
but
of course, there's going to be a guy from 7 to 14 that we are just like, kind of like him. And then all of a sudden they're playing in the NBA All-Star game in 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You never know.
That's the fun of the draft.
They could all just be busts. I know. That's the best part about the draft. But, all right, anything else?
Good thing the Hornets aren't picking anywhere from like 8 to 15 this year because I would bet on that guy to be a bust instantly.
Yeah, I think we would have gone Grady Dick, if I had to be honest.
I think so, too.
Hornet.
If the Hornets somehow got number 1, they might have talked themselves out of Victor Wembanyama. Oh, too much injury history. Brandon Miller's the fit we need. We just drafted the center last year.
This Cason Wallace guy is way better than Victor Wembanyama.
Have you seen Brady Manick shoot the 3?
Victor Wembanyama has never won at South Carolina after dealing with gun charges.
We just drafted a center, and we're not drafting based on need anymore.
Tomorrow's going to blow. I'm going to the Utah Jazz draft party. All Hornets gear.
Perfect.
It's going to be hilarious. I'm going to cheer for the second pick, even if it is Brandon Miller. I'm not going to be mad.
And that's the thing. I want Scoot. You want Scoot. But if they get Brandon Miller, we're going to convince ourselves of it, and we're going to cheer for him. And hopefully it works out.
It's kind of like the Carolina Panthers this year when we didn't know it was going to be Bryce Young, and I said, well, you know what? If it's Anthony Richardson, if it's C.J. Stroud, I'm going to talk myself into them being the best quarterback in the NFL. Now it turned out to be the guy who I wanted for the Carolina Panthers. It doesn't look like that's going to happen for the Charlotte Hornets.
What if it was Will Levis? Karter? Would you talk yourself into that?
No, I know better. I'll tell you what, I cannot wait for football podcasts come August because, man, Dylan, or come September I hope Will Levis plays right away just so we can get that experience over with.
Me too.
Because I just don't see a world where Will Levis is balling out for the Tennessee Titans.
I don't either. Sorry about it.
Dylan he's literally Jimmy Clausen. Will Levis is literally Jimmy Clausen 2.0. It's insane. He falls to the second day of the draft. He goes to an average situation where they're kind of falling apart and they don't really have a lot of weapons. Yes, they have Derrick Henry, whatever. The Panthers, they had Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams when Jimmy Clausen came in.
Yep.
It's the exact same situation.
I agree. I don't think he's going to do anything in the league.
Bum. He's going to be a bum. I'll say it right here, right now. But anyhow, all right, that'll do it from us. Enjoy the NBA draft tomorrow. Enjoy the tweets. I know someone's going to spoil picks, I know Woj and Shams and whoever said they're not going to spoil picks. People are going to spoil picks this year. Who cares? It happens. Enjoy the draft. Hopefully your team gets whoever you want. Hopefully the Hornets get whoever we want. Or they trade for Zion. Number one option, trade for Zion. That's what we want. But thank you for listening. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Connor_Sparrow, at CarterBA, at CarterCast on all social media. And subscribe to the YouTube, rate, review, do what you got to do to help out. And check out CarterCast.com. And that's it. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.